Hey guys, Danny here. I hope you're all doing well. You'll see that today I'm reviewing a e-bike. This was sent to me for review by ADO, so thanks to them for that. As always, if you'd like to pick it up, you can find a link down below. Now let me give you some more details on this product because I think it's pretty cool. So it has a top speed of 21 miles per hour, which it can actually reach, and I'll be showing that to you. But let's delve into some of the other features and specs that it has. The bike has front and rear mechanical disc brakes. It also has a motor on the rear wheel here inside this black housing, which is up to 350 watts if unlocked. You also have a 7-gear system as well, which I'll be demonstrating a little bit later. You get suspension in your seat, which is rather effective, adding to the ride comfort quite a bit. You also get front suspension, which offers a pretty good amount of resistance. I did hear some people mention the front mudguard hitting on the wheel if they went over really rough terrain. I didn't have this happen personally, but it did seem to be quite effective as well. With an aluminium body, this bike comes in at 24 kilograms, making it fairly light if you need to carry it or move it short distances, but I definitely wouldn't call it lightweight if you need to carry it quite far for any reason. But you can also fold it up, which I'll demonstrate here. Folding the bike is relatively easy. It can be a bit fiddly if you're doing it by yourself, as you fold this first section, the front kind of wants to fall down, so you need to hold it to make sure you don't scratch up any of the parts. So I wouldn't say it's super easy to fold, but it's pretty convenient. You can also fold the pedals and remove the seat, so I'm not fully showing how compact this can actually be in this little clip here. You can actually go further and make it even more compact, which is pretty handy. Let's move on to the handlebars. You have a miniature throttle which drives the motor on the rear wheel. The gear selector works by turning the dial anti-clockwise to go down a gear, and you press your button at the bottom here to go up. Quite a effective, nice, easy system. In the center of the handlebars there's a quick release system. Next to that there is a USB charger, which is a very cool little addition, so you can use this to keep your phone charged up. This also comes with a phone holder, which I'll show you also. Then we also have a control panel, which while it looks quite basic, it's pretty effective, easy to use, and bright enough to use in direct sunlight and also at nighttime. You can cycle through a few different settings on your home screen and a few different things you want to display, such as your odometer, your trip, the voltage of the battery, and your current speed. You can change between your 3 levels of assistance, and you can also hold the plus and minus button to dive deeper into the settings, which enable you to change the max speed and also change throttle starts, which is something I did because it makes it a lot more fun to use. Once you fold the back, you'll see the battery inside here on the right, and on the left you have your connector, which can easily be disconnected, and behind that you'll find the control box. The battery can easily be removed by pushing the key underneath inwards and then turning it. This will take the bolt inside the battery and turn it, so it will then slide out of the case freely. Coming in at 36 volts, 10.4 amp hours, it's a pretty decent sized battery, but I'll be showing you what sort of range I think you can give this a little later on. On the removable seat there is a rear facing LED light, which is really cool. It has a little button underneath and you can select between a few different modes. What's even cooler is the front light, which is also LED, is wired into the actual main system, so it can be turned on using the little red button on the handlebars, so you don't have to activate that by actually pressing anything. You can turn it on while you're riding, which is pretty cool. Last but not least, there's also a horn you can use if you're feeling really obnoxious. Before we move on to how the product arrived, it's worth noting the battery can be charged outside of the case using the charger, which takes approximately 6 hours, but it can also be charged while it's inside the frame using the same hole through the side of the bike where there's a little rubber seal. The shipping experience coming from ADO was pretty good. The product arrived in a few days, and the box it arrived in wasn't quite as big as I thought it would be, so that was a nice surprise. Since the bike is able to fold up inside the box, it doesn't take up as much space. It was also in pretty good condition and I didn't see any obvious damage. For the most part, I thought it was pretty well packaged. It could have done with a little bit more protection in some areas, but as I said, I didn't notice any damage on the bike, so that was good to see. Everything you need to put the bike together comes in the box, including some tools. You also get a bike pump. While be it quite cheap feeling, it did pump up the wheels just fine, and I pressure tested them afterwards, so no problems there. It did also come with that free phone holder, which was a really nice little extra. If you have any concerns about putting the bike together, it's just as simple as slotting things into place and attaching a few bolts. So even if you have very little DIY skills, I don't think you'll have any problems putting this together. There are a few things that really took me by surprise when reviewing this product, one being how comfortable it was to ride with the suspension system that it's using. While it's not perfect and it's not suitable for off-roading, with light bumps on road surfaces and for gravel, it definitely adds to the comfort, as well as the seat, which I found very comfortable even when comparing to quite a few other bikes that I've ridden before. This being my first e-bike, I was also really impressed with the power, the acceleration, and the top speed that you're able to get on this if you unlock it, which I did get the full 21 miles per hour, and I've seen most other reviewers verify this as well. It won't do this on any sort of incline. On a flat surface, you'll reach it just fine. While I didn't use this e-bike on any really steep hills, some of the ones that I took it on, I really expected it to struggle, and while its speed did lower slightly, I was really impressed by its performance overall throughout all of my riding, especially in terms of its acceleration, its top speed, and just its general power. And my friend who I was riding with, who was also on an electric bike, was very impressed by what mine was able to do in comparison to his, which he did build himself. So I do think this is, in terms of power, a very good product. Although I didn't do any specific range tests, I was very impressed by one scenario that I tried, and that was pretty much exclusively using the throttle for about 10 miles. The power did not seem to go down at all, the acceleration remained the same, and it just seemed to power through anything that I threw at it. After those 10 miles, the battery indicator showed that it had 2 bars remaining, and sometimes it would jump up to 3, so I still think this had a fair amount of range left in it, but I would like to do a specific range test and see what it would take to fully drain the battery in this bike. So if you'd like to see that, maybe leave a comment and a thumbs up, and I'll do another video seeing how much range I can actually get out of this. It's worth noting, to get the max speed out of this bike and also use throttle 0 starts, you do need to change this in the settings, as it comes restricted on delivery. So it's pretty easy to do. You just go into the developer settings and you can unlock it. It's worth mentioning also, in terms of range, you will get a lot further than what I am estimating you would get if you're just using your pedal assist, which is also great and gives you a ton of power. But I did find the 3 different assist modes you can switch between were a little bit confusing, and I'm not sure if I actually have a problem with my unit, or not really a problem but a bug, because my throttle would only work when I enabled 0 throttle starts, which essentially means you can use the throttle when you aren't pedaling and the bike's not moving. But normally, from what I can see, the throttle should work when you're using your pedal. So once you start pedaling and you get some assistance, you can then hold the throttle to keep the motor engaged. But this didn't seem to work for me in any of the modes that I tried, which was a little bit bizarre. So maybe this is a setting I have to change, but I did have a pretty good look and I didn't manage to fix this. I discovered this bike even has a cruise control mode, so I'm not sure the exact time, but it seemed kind of between 5 and 10 seconds. If you're holding the throttle down, the bike will eventually go into a cruise control mode. You'll see the number on the screen change to a P, the letter P, and then the throttle will be held down. You can turn it off by touching either of the brakes or touching the throttle again, and it will then turn off. So a really cool little feature to have. When it comes to the pedal assist, you'll see that there's not very much footage of me actually using it because I was having so much fun using the throttle. What I will say about the pedal assist though is the two assistance levels 1 and 2 seem pretty similar to me, so I'm not sure what the actual difference between them is. Maybe one is a little bit more aggressive in its power. I think that's the difference. But one thing I also wanted to mention was the pedal assist seemed to be on kind of one mode, so it didn't seem very proportional to how fast you're pedaling. I'm not sure if this is normal for electric bikes or not. So for example, you start pedaling and after a certain amount of time, which you can adjust in the settings, the electric motor will kick in and give you assistance, and it seemed to give quite a substantial boost and not always be proportional to how much effort you're putting in onto the pedals, which I would have liked a little bit more of kind of a gradient there in proportion to how much power you're putting into the pedals to how much assistance it gives you. Maybe that's something you can adjust in the settings, but I don't think you can. Moving on to some negatives on this bike, and there's not many I can think of. The user manual that it comes with, while is pretty detailed in a lot of different areas, it gives you an electrical diagram, how to put the bike together, maintenance, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It doesn't offer a very good explanation of how the control panel works on the handlebars and what settings do what, so I did have to do quite a bit of tinkering to figure out how some things work. There were also some very minor issues. I found I needed to tighten up the mud guards, as they did have a tendency to move around a little bit, and they still do very occasionally, but after I tightened them, I seemed to mostly solve the problem. There was also a little sticker on the kickstand which as soon as it got wet started to peel off, but pretty minor. There was no major issues with this bike, and overall I'm really impressed with it and I have no problems recommending it to you. I don't think it's the most valuable e-bike on the market, especially in terms of if you were to try and build one yourself. I think you may get slightly more value for money, but this offers a incredibly good user experience. It comes as a whole built-in package, so you don't have to worry about anything. The assembly is really simple, and just as an overall experience and package, I had a lot of fun testing this product, and I think if you're willing to shell out the money to pick one of these up, I don't think you'll be disappointed with it. The components that ADO use feel of a pretty good quality. The disc brakes, the suspension, especially the seat suspension and how comfortable the seat feels, really surprised me, so I don't think that they skimped out too much on any areas, and overall it just feels like a pretty solid product. But if you'd like me to, I will be doing a longer term review and I'll be giving you some updates, so let me know if that's something you'd like to see. As always, if you'd like to pick up this product, you can find a link down below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more videos like this one, and of course I will see you in the next one.